we've been calling you your wrong name
No.
the whole time I've known you. This is Hard Parking, brought to you by Right Honda and Right Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm your host, Jhae Pfenning. What is it these days about? I mean, we're in 2025, and people are still driving around with your blinkers on. I was behind a late model Mercedes GL, one of the big, really cool ones, for about a mile and a half on a regular road, and their blinker was just on. Does the thing not remind you when your blinker's on? Or when you turn the wheel to the opposite side, doesn't the blinker turn off? Apparently not. Coming up on today's show, Tim Eull. You guys in the Arizona area know his car. He has a 93 yellow RX-7. Wins all sorts of awards. But we've been saying his name wrong this entire time. Find out how to really pronounce his last name. All that and more coming up after this word from SparkForge. So quick story for you. A listener lost a big job, missed the call, never saw the DM, probably because he was listening to this podcast. It happens, and it's fixable. Running a business shouldn't mean juggling a dozen apps and missing opportunities. SparkForge helps you reply faster, capture more leads, and get more reviews, all without adding hours to your day. One simple place to handle calls, texts, and social messages so you can focus on the work that pays. It's like finally putting your business on cruise control without losing the steering wheel. One login, one platform, all under your control. Consolidate your tech in one place to save time, money, and headache. The future is here, and it's powered by SparkForge AI from our friends at Arcus Foundry. Jump into a 30-day trial today by using code HARDPARKED at getsparkforge.ai and stop letting yesterday's tech eat tomorrow's profits. Tim Eull, it is my pleasure to welcome you back on the podcast, first time in studio.
Thanks, Jhae.
Good friend of mine. Welcome.
Appreciate you having me.
Of course.
Absolutely. Love it.
So I figured we should get together and you kind of let people know your cool story, because you're the guy who has the really cool yellow RX-7 that wins all the awards around here in Arizona.
Well, used to.
Used to win all the awards.
It wins a fair amount, but yeah.
You told the judges to stop because you were running out of room?
No, my wife says I'm running out of room, and she said if you win any more trophies, just find somebody to hand them to. So
there you go.
But I mean, for me, that's not what really the hobby is about. It's about people and connections, and if you win trophies, that's fine, but it's not the end-all, be-all for me for doing the car hobby.
So tell us who you are and what you have and why you're sitting here today.
My name's Tim Eull. I go by Isle, but some go by Eull, and I never usually correct people because the spelling of my last name is so wonky, E-U-L-L. Phonetically, it always comes out Eull.
So we've been calling you your wrong name
No.
the whole time I've known you.
No, Jhae. It's like I said.
So it's Isle.
Isle. In German, it was E with an umlaut over the U, L-L, which makes an O-I sound.
Oh.
So oil or L is like the German pronunciation.
Tim Eull?
Tim Eull, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Heard it here first.
Yeah.
All right. What else besides everyone completely obliterating your name?
Yeah. So, I moved to Arizona in 1987. Got a job working in Honeywell, and I was into American muscle when I was younger. I had a 1973 Mazda, a 1973 Camaro Z28. That was my first enthusiast car. And I bought it. It was a little rough, and within about 2 or 3 years, I obsessed over it like every good enthusiast does.
What color was it?
Trying to make it perfect. When I bought it, it was a really dark green, like a forest green, or almost like a British racing green.
Okay. Yeah.
And hated that color. Didn't have any spoilers on it. It was just a bare, non-spoiler, dark green car that somebody had painted. And so
that wasn't even the color the car should have been, or they?
No, it wasn't a factory color.
Okay.
And a friend of mine owned a Corvette with that pearlescent white paint, with a heavy metallic in it. And so I decided early on I was going to put all the Z28 spoilers on it and paint it that Corvette white and go with plaid interior. I don't know why, but for some reason I have always been drawn to plaid interior. And so...
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Uh-huh.
So I've heard, not just you, but I've had other guests on, especially with the older cars, of painting and repainting and repainting. So we'll get back to your plaid interior. I think is it a generational thing? Because a lot of times I see stuff and it'll be for sale. Like I have a guy who's selling an NSX right now, and it's a beautiful NSX. He wants like $150,000 for it, and it's a repaint. It's not even the original color. Huh. And when I look at that, I'm thinking, wow, you've repainted this car and you're asking premium for it. Whereas back in the day, you can repaint. Like, did it always affect the value as much? Or do you think it's just kind of a current thing? Or maybe it's just one of those things out there that doesn't really mean anything.
It's hard to say. I think that people over the last 20 years or so have really got hung up on valuations and whether a car is all original or not all original, whether it's low mileage and what defines low mileage. And so I always say, if you buy a car and it's low mileage and you're hung up on valuation, then you probably shouldn't own the car, right? Especially if you're an enthusiast that likes to go out and drive.
Same thing then for repaints.
Yeah. I think you should do what you want with the car. It's yours, right?
There you go.
But I'm a fine one to talk because, I have a 79 RX-7 now that is supposedly original paint. The paint's almost too good, in my opinion, to be original, but I don't have any paperwork over the lifetime of the car that would, denote otherwise. And so I'm assuming it's original paint still. But again, I got when I bought it, I had some plaid interior from Japan, some plaid material to put in the inserts, and so I changed the seats to plaid inserts. And
on the 79?
Yeah, on the 79. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Those are my two cars right now. 79, all original, first year Mazda RX-7, and then the yellow one is a third generation. So I thought, if I'm going to own two cars, why not have a first and a last, first generation and last generation RX-7?
Which I would love to do with the NSX. But so back to your Camaro and the plaid.
Yes, yeah. So back to my Camaro and the plaid. So
sorry for pulling you off course there.
No. So back then, that was in the late 70s, early 80s. And back then, centerline wheels were all the rage, right? And with a lot of the people that I hung out with in Minnesota, because I grew up just outside of Minneapolis, and at that time there was a club called MSMA, Minnesota Street Machine Association. And MSMA consisted of really all the cool guys with cars in the Twin Cities metro area. And at that time, centerline wheels were the big thing. Everybody was running centerline wheels, and a lot of guys were running slicks on the street, and because there was a lot of street racing that took place on probably around, I think, Brooklyn Boulevard.
Okay.
Between midnight and 3 a.m. You'd see guys.
Seems to be the same times. Let me guess, shift change probably.
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is that, anybody who was a serious street racer would hang out at the restaurants and drive-ins along Brooklyn Boulevard at that time in my life. So not that I was a serious street racer. I've always been more of a car show guy, right? Mm-hmm. I learned early on that, no matter how fast you are on the street, somebody out there is always going to be faster, and more power usually leads to more breakage, which leads to more expense.
And you reach that part where it's like, what's usable? You have the bragging rights power, then you have power that you can actually put down on the street and use. And then if you have all this usable power, you're still on the street.
Right. Right. You're still illegal, right?
Yeah.
To a certain extent.
We've all been there, done that to a certain extent. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So anyway, that car kind of lit the flame in me for the car hobby. My dad was he always loved cars, and he always wanted a fast car, but he was raising 5 kids on a limited budget, and so for my dad got a 1965 Ford Galaxy 500 with a 390, black with red interior, and I remember going out with him. That 390 screamed in that car. That's as close as my dad ever got to having a quote-unquote fun car for himself, right? But just hanging out with my dad on Saturdays, washing cars with him, and my uncles were always into cars, Cadillacs, nicer cars. I was always kind of interested in cars, and then downhill skiing in the winter and golf in the summer. Those were kind of the 3 things I was interested in as a teenager. So
when you were washing your cars with your dad, was he so into it that he pulled out the chamois and all that kind of stuff, or did you use detergent? What did you use to dry?
I just remember him having a big old soapy bucket and throwing it under the maple tree and hosing it down and hitting it with a bucket. And I don't remember him detailing the wheels or, the tires or wheels or the interior. It was just basically he always had a beer in his hand.
Yeah. Yep.
Always had a beer in his hand.
Remember the brand?
Yeah. Grain Belt beer. Yeah. So whatever was on special.
Sure.
That he could find. Pfeiffer's.
Was that the 3.2 beer up there in Minnesota?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That was something I had to get used to when I came down here too, and to Arizona. Was in Minnesota, everything's. I mean, you have liquor stores up there, right?
Right.
They don't sell. At least I think they maybe sell 3.2 now in the grocery stores, but back then, I mean, you had to go to the state-owned liquor store to buy anything.
Right.
And so. When I came to Arizona and saw that you could get anything you want in the grocery store, it was kind of like the Wild West, right? So,
yeah, I mean, you can go into Circle K and they probably have little pints of whatever too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I had that Z28. I had that car all the way through college, believe it or not. I'd put it, into winter storage. That was a big thing in Minnesota. In the wintertime was, when we got into late October, you'd find a place to store your car for the winter, and then you would go out and try to not spend more than a couple $100 on a rusted out winter beater, and you hoped it had a good battery and snow tires. Those were the 2 priorities. And that's what you drive for the winter, and you hoped that your winter beater would last for 2 or 3 seasons, because if it did, you got your money out of it, right?
What was your winter beater? Do you remember?
My winter beater one year was a 68 or 9 Ford Galaxy 4-door. And I mean, the floorboards were rusted out of it. But it had, studded snow tires on it. Our favorite thing to do as teenage kids was to chase each other around our hometown. Just after a heavy snow, if we got like 8 inches of snow, all the guys with winter beaters were chasing each other around the streets, sliding sideways, going down through people's yards.
Derbies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But, that was kind of our mischief as kids, but good, clean fun. But
was that the crappiest car you had? Was that 4-door Galaxy?
Yeah, and I had a 66 or 67 Ford Fairlane. That was my car for college.
Okay.
Right. And again, it had a 289 in it. Floorboards were all rusted out of it. And it was a piece of junk, but it was highly reliable, good snow tires, tank heater, so you could plug it in. That's a Minnesota thing.
Plugging it in, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that as a kid.
Yeah. I mean, anybody who never grew up in the Midwest always wonders, what's the plug hanging out the front for, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you see the movie, The Adventures of Ford Fairlane, just because of the name of the car? No. That was, remember Andrew Dice Clay was on top of the world for a little bit? I think that's the only movie he's been in, but he was the star of that movie.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, so then fast forward to Arizona and my love of Mazdas and rotary engines. I think it was, I knew of rotary engines when I was in college because I was in college from 79 through 84. And obviously 79 and 80 was when the first Mazda RX-7 came out. And, all the guys that were into American Muscle kind of just, poo-pooed the rotary engine. They said it was just another.
Well, that's kind of wild, though, right? Because at that point, the first RX-7 is so small. Yeah. And at that time, 70s and 80s American cars are huge.
They were huge. And not that fast.
No, and
underpowered.
Pretty nasty.
Yeah, they were really
The 80s
bad.
were terrible.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I remember the hype around the RX-7 when it first came out because in 79, Mazda didn't anticipate that car would be as popular as it was. And so they didn't make enough cars for the U.S. market. So they were pulling cars off of the production line in Japan and doing as much as they could to convert them to U.S. spec. So that's why some of the more highly sought after and desirable 79 RX-7s are the ones where the hood prop rod is on the passenger side and there's no passenger side mirror. And there's a couple other unique items that were part of some of the Japanese production that made it to the United States. Basically from, they started like February or March of 78.
Right.
Were the early production numbers. And some of those early quirks lasted until August or September of 78. And then 79, when they started the 80 production, is when you saw a lot of those things disappear. So the early cars are fun because of those weird items, but
so that's stuff to look for.
Yeah.
So what are the odds how many did they make in 79-ish? Do you know? And then how many are still out there?
That's a good question. I'm not sure the exact production numbers. I know.
Come on, Rotor Daddy.
I know.
That is your name. You're the Rotor Daddy.
I want to say like 40, 50,000.
That's a lot.
79.
Yeah.
I could be way off on that. But yeah, dealerships couldn't get them. You really couldn't order any options you wanted. If you pretty much had to put your money down and just say whatever you get. The first thing you get is what I'll
take the next one.
I'll take the next one.
You don't know if it's going to be blue or yellow or whatnot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Things are different.
Very different.
Yeah,
very different. So my friend, so a guy that I became really good friends with, in fact, he's coming out next week to ride with me to 7 stock, or I should say later this week. He is, I had a silver 79 listed on Bring a Trailer, and he was the winning bidder. And and when he won that car, he told me the story of his youth and him having that same silver 79 RX-7 and how he met his wife at a gas station and she knew what an RX-7 was and she was a cute young gal and he just was immediately drawn to her. They fell in love through their passion for cars. And yeah. And he and I became instant friends. So it's a testament to the relationships you build in the car hobby. And the reason why I love the car hobby actually is because of all the new friends you meet, all the stories you hear, the people who, people come and go, but most times stay pretty well connected with my car friends. You know, I've lost a few car friends in the last few
Right.
years, and that's pretty tough.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough to lose those people. So
Now, is that the car, or was it red? Is that the car that you sold after you were on last time, the Copper State 1000?
yes, yeah. So that car was sold this September, the red 1980. And that belonged to a buddy of mine. His name was Tim Eull. I mean, what are the chances of meeting somebody whose last name is Aull and your name is Eull, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Probably next to nothing, except for I'm sitting in front of somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wild.
And so he and I met on online forums for RX-7s called rx7club.com. They have, communities for every generation of RX-7. And Stu was kind of viewed as the guru for 79, 80 RX-7s, but he lived in Fairbanks, Alaska. And so, probably about 9 or 10 years ago, I get a text message from him saying, hey, he said, my wife and I own a rental home in Sedona, and we're thinking about selling our house up here in Fairbanks and retiring to Sedona. He said, are you fairly close by? And I said, yeah, I'm not too far at all. I'm a couple hours.
Yeah, definitely closer than Fairbanks.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly. And so he wanted to know what the car hobby was like in the Phoenix area, and I told him, like all major metropolitan areas in the United States, people are car crazy, and so he moved down to Sedona, and I met him about a month after he moved here. He came with us to Seven Stock. He happened to move here in late September, early October, and Seven Stock is traditionally the first weekend, the SEMA weekend, or the weekend after SEMA, I should say, in November. And he and I were instant friends from the moment we met. I always told people he was my Rotary brother from a different mother because, we had kind of similar tastes in mods. We were just, sometimes you meet a new friend and you're just compatible on so many different.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. We just clicked together as friends. So, yeah. And then, he was here for 4 or 5 years and found out one day he had a sore throat and went to the doctor, and doctor said, I don't like what I'm seeing in the back of your throat. He said, I'm going to take a biopsy. And sure enough, it was throat cancer, but they thought they caught it early enough that he had a high likelihood of surviving it. And unfortunately, within 3 or 4 years, he was gone. And so,
Yeah.
So I helped his wife sell his car. I helped his wife sell his Ducati. Actually, his Ducati is still here in town. But the hope is that we'll sell the Ducati locally. It was a 1981 Ducati.
Oh, wow.
Ducati Panta. Yeah.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
It sounds like it looked
Yeah.
kind of cool. I like the old bikes.
Yeah.
They always look cool.
Yeah. And his bike was red. His RX-7 was red, and his Panta had gold wheels, and his RX-7 had gold wheels. So, so we sold the car on Bring a Trailer, like I said, in September, and the guy who won it lived in California. Super excited guy. His name's Michael, and asked me after the auction if we could put air conditioning in it. And so talked to my buddy here in town, Eric Greenbank. Eric's a skilled Mazda mechanic and owns a little, I call it like a hobby mechanic business. He takes cars kind of by appointment.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get him. I'm going to throw the Z at him, let him drive around in that, and then tell me everything I need to fix.
Yeah. No, it's a good idea.
No, yeah.
Yeah. Because he's very meticulous, you know. He looks at every car and every repair as if it were his vehicle. And so he'll tell you, well, you could cut corners and do this, or you could do that. But he always tells you what he would do if it were his car.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
Good friends to have.
yeah. Good guy. So, so anyway, getting back to Michael, we found enough parts to put together an air conditioning system, actually a really nice air conditioning system. And it was a good exercise for myself and Eric because I've got a new old stock air conditioning system for my 79 RX-7 that I've wanted to put in, and I haven't gotten around to it. So now that I've done Michael's car.
So you tested it on Michael's car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good job.
And it works really well. It blows really cold.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah. So anyway, that'll be my next project. I just had a project with the 93 RX-7. Oh boy, where I pulled
Your
off.
car?
Yeah, the yellow car.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, it's a good transition to the yellow car.
Yeah. I pulled off the brake calipers and had them powder coated a different color.
What'd you go with?
So the strut bar in my car, I did in a custom color. It's a powder coated lollipop red, but it looks kind of like candy apple red.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a ruby red with a lot of metallic in it. And so I went with that color on my calipers. And
The McDonald's car. People are going to start calling it a McDonald's car. Mustard and ketchup car.
well, exactly. But I mean, in my opinion, it looked more like the McDonald's car with the stock red calipers. Right.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I wanted to kind of subdue the calipers a little bit, and put something on them that was a little more durable, that wasn't subject to chips and flaking as much, right? But, taking the calipers apart and getting them powder coated and making sure you don't get powder coat on surfaces that are tolerance specific. I learned a lot from it. I learned if I ever do a set of calipers again, I know what not to powder coat, right? Because I went through the process of reassembly and putting them on the car, and they weren't working properly, and so I had to pull them apart again, and so it was learning exercise, but everything worked out.
What level of difficulty would you assign the task of removing calipers and kind of cleaning them up and getting them ready for powder coating? Because it seems that if you haven't done it before, it's almost a little intimidating, right?
Yeah.
But once you do it, you're kind of like, oh, that was easy.
I think for me, there's always online tutorials. Everybody's done YouTube videos on just about every repair out there. And
I agree.
Actually, the time that I got into the car hobby with my 1993, the yellow car, was a really good time because it was kind of the advent of online forums, and then after that, Facebook and YouTube, where everybody who had done a repair out there was making a video of that repair, showing you how to do it, right? And so, so to answer your question, what's the hardest thing or what's the level of difficulty? I would say it's probably about a 4.5 or a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
There's some things you have to watch for, and you have to really make sure when you take the calipers apart that you keep the parts bagged in their own individual bags and everything marked specifically which side it goes with. Part of the problem I had was there was a emergency brake pin that was unique to the left side that I got mixed up with the right side, and so I had those pins crossed over in my calipers, and so that's what necessitated me having to take them apart and put it back together again. But it was a one-day deal. It wasn't like it was something where I had to tear it down, start over, get everything repowder coated. So, yeah.
Sounds like kind of a mess.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, we were talking about this before we got started. You guys did a rally out here.
Yes. Yep,
and you were one of the organizers?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So going back to, so this story starts out in 2016, 2017. Some friends of mine locally here in Phoenix went to California for an event. At that time, it was called Toge, California.
Tollgate?
Toge.
Toge. Oh, Toge.
Touge. Toge, California. Toge.
Yeah. Isn't that like the going
Right.
zigzagging down the...
Right. Right. And so I think there were 3 Toge events, one in 2014. Could be they were consecutive, 2014, 15, and 16. But anyway, it was a one-day rally for Japanese cars. Usually it was sponsored by Ben Sue, HSU, I think. Ben and another guy Andrew, who owns Model Citizen, and out in California. And it was a one-day event for, I'll call it premium Japanese classic cars, because you had to submit an application and you had to be picked. And there were only like 20 to 25 cars in the rally. And so I was lucky enough to be picked for their last event in 2016. Went out. It was a great day. Sponsored by Mazda. So Mazda brought out a lot of
nice.
old vintage Japanese cars for the rally. It started out kind of in the Temecula area and went through those hills in Temecula, kind of down towards the beach, just south of L.A., and then up through Irvine to Mazda's R&D facility. But the thing that I really liked about it is it really felt almost like the Copper State 1000. It felt like a really nice premium event for Japanese cars. And it was something at a much higher level than just a bunch of guys getting together on a Saturday and deciding to go for a drive. And so I waited for the next Toge California event to happen, and Japanese Nostalgic Car and Model Citizen kind of decided, I don't know if they decided that they weren't going to do it anymore. I think it was a lot of work to put that event together. So I had the idea to put together a rally event here in Phoenix, similar to that. So I approached, I was talking to Brad DeSantis about the idea. And Brad he has a podcast called Hard Parking, and Brad's a really big car enthusiast who moved here.
Wait, he has a podcast called Hard Parking?
No. What did I say? He has a podcast called Auto Off Topic.
Auto Off Topic, okay.
Auto Off Topic. You have to edit that.
I'll get it. I was like, oh, shit, I thought that was the first one. No.
Auto Off Topic is Brad's podcast.
I got you.
And anyway, Brad, Brad is a J10 nerd just like us, and he loves old Japanese cars. And so I got together with him, proposed the idea, and he said he really wanted to be on board with it. And so we got a group of 3 guys together and started planning we were going to hold the event in October of 23. And we realized pretty early on that it was a bigger task than we were prepared to pull off. And so we postponed it until October of 24. And so last year was when we had our first Arizona Rising Sun Rally. And the inaugural event came off fantastic. We got coverage from Jalopnik and just a lot of really great feedback from the participants. So this year we had our year 2 event. It was launched, 2 weeks ago on Saturday the 25th of October. We launched it. Rebecca hosted us over at the warehouse in Mesa. We launched it from there. Went up towards kind of Jacob's Corner, up just south of Payson, and headed down past Roosevelt Lake into Globe, and then from there down to Whitman, and from Whitman back up, and then finished it in Apache Junction. It's intended to be about a 200 to 250 mile one-day
that's a lot.
Scenic drive.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, for Japanese classic cars.
So what's the requirement? It just has to be Japanese between this date and this date, or just any time before this date?
Any time before pre-2005, right? So if you had a car that's...
So the Z could go.
Right.
And kind of bring up the rear. Were there any like super slow cars?
Yeah. So the oldest car there was a 1970 Mazda 1800 that was owned by Sonny Griffith. Sonny Griffith has a nice collection of Mazdas here in the valley, and that old 1800 doesn't have a rotary engine. It's Mazda's piston engine version of a rotary car they made in the late 60s, early 70s called the Luce Coupe. Luce. It's the only front-wheel drive car that Mazda ever produced. And so Sonny had the oldest car, probably this, I don't know if his was the slowest, but there were some interesting cars. Probably 6 or 7 right-hand drive cars.
Okay, yeah.
And there's lots of pictures out online. I encourage anybody to.
So if I still have the Z next year, maybe I should look into joining it.
I would love it. I would love it. Or, like I said, find a friend with a, pre-2000 anything, S2000 or NSX, and join us, right? Anything. Because I know you have the passion, and I think you'd like the event.
It looked like it was fun. I forgot. I think there was another event I was doing. Yeah, we had the St. Mary's Food Bank thing.
Yes, there was a one less event the same day.
Well, it wasn't one less. That's an official thing. One less is going to be in February, but it was we were, because you were on the One Auto as well. We linked up with ELG accident attorneys and a bunch of the really cool bikes around here, motorcycles, the Ducati Club.
Yeah.
And that was for like St. Mary's.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of the latest thing that I've gotten into.
But then you have 7 stock coming up.
7 stock is coming up.
Why is 7 stock important? Because you do it all the time. I know it's probably the event you circle every year.
I have been, this year will be my 23rd consecutive 7 stock. And I've driven the yellow car, the FD, to 7 stock every year, except 2. One year I was getting the engine rebuilt in it, and the other year I was a vendor selling things, and so I had to drive a minivan over there.
What did you vend?
Stuff. I vended Rotary calendars.
Okay.
For the following year, and it was all images that a photographer had captured that were really very well done, and he and I collaborated together and made a calendar. And it's such a funny story. We collaborated and made 2,000 calendars.
Wow.
And, we thought we were just going to go out there and make hay. And we got to the event, and the day of the event, a cutoff low hit Southern California and absolutely drenched the event. And so not only did half the car show up, but only about a third of the people that normally come to 7 stock.
Which is normally how many?
You'll normally get, back in those days, probably 450 cars and probably about 1,000 to 1,500 people. And so,
it's a good showing.
It is a good showing when the weather's good. Yeah. So, it was a tough lesson for me. Tough lesson.
And what are the 2,000 calendars?
We ended up, So we ended up selling probably, a few hundred calendars the day of the event. And so my friend Bernie Bernie is the leader of the 7 stock team, and I'll be seeing him this coming weekend. Bernie helped me coordinate with a gentleman over in England who was head of the Rotary community for the London area, and he ordered 500 calendars from us. And so he helped us a lot, kind of minimize the pain.
Sure, yeah.
But it was still, a situation where after the fact, myself and Steven both lost money on that,
right,
on the transaction. But live and learn, right?
Sure. No more 2,000 calendar orders. Now it's a limited number edition. Yeah.
which is what I should have done to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Live and learn.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, next week, start over. This week coming up on Friday is 7 stock. There'll probably be, usually there's around 15 to 20 cars that head over from Phoenix. And usually we have a nice crew that joins us from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I did talk to their leader just this afternoon before coming here, and he said they're going to be coming over. They'll meet us Friday morning, and we'll head over to Irvine together.
That's fun.
Yeah, there's going to be probably about 30 cars total.
There's something magical and cool, right? When you're on the highway and you're all like one of 3 generation cars and you're just cruising past. And I always wonder, like, what's that? Some people love it. Some people are annoyed by it. But it's the guy that's stuck driving the Chrysler Pacifica rental, and his family is knocked out. His wife is nose deep in social media, and he's just like watching the cars go by, and he's just like, oh, wow.
Absolutely.
What a dream that would be, you know?
Yeah. That's really true. I mean, it never gets old. I mean, like I mentioned, I'd been going, 23 consecutive years. And, I mean, the first year I went, 7 stock 4 back in 2003 was literally a week after the first Fast and Furious movie came out. So that tells you how long I've been into Mazda Rotaries, right? And that event for me was pure magic because you rolled into the event and there was press everywhere, not because it was 7 stock, but because the Fast and the Furious was such a pop. It was a craze. It was a craze. And any event related to Japanese classic cars was covered by the media during that month-long period, right? So, yeah, it was a blast to be a part of, and it kind of took me back as to, whoa, what have I gotten into here, right? So, but yeah, I mean, it's funny. I always wonder if, for me, almost every car in my life has aged and has gotten old, right? But for some reason, that body style is timeless. Yeah. Especially the FD. I mean, second generation RX-7, not so much.
Kind of gets lost in the shuffle, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You don't really see them either, or maybe they're there. I just don't notice. But you always notice when you see the first gen. Of course, you notice when you see the FD.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is.
Well, I think it was, of the 3 generations, it was probably the least loved of.
Is it because it's too similar to other cars visually? Like, it doesn't really look like a Supra, but if you didn't really know, like, your second generation Supra, they're kind of similar.
Yeah. I think it's because it was a car kind of searching for a purpose, right? Because it really wasn't a pure driver's car. It was more of a touring car, right? So it kind of appealed to a different audience. It appealed kind of to the older driver who was interested in maybe a 911 Porsche, but not a 911, a touring
like a 944
model.
or something.
944 or something. Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of how the styling was compared to 944 when it first came out, right? It had some cues that were kind of 944-ish.
Right.
Right, or 924-ish.
Yeah.
Especially.
That's what I meant. Like, it kind of looks very similar to other cars at the time.
Yeah.
Other cars that are fitting that touring.
Right. Yeah.
Did you always want your FD, your 93? Isn't there a story you kind of fell in love with it? It's from Hawaii, isn't it?
Yeah, my wife and I were dating in 1993 when the car first came out. And we were on our way up to the Grand Canyon for a weekend. And I'll never forget, we're on that long drive from Williams up to the canyon, and a Montego Blue FD comes screaming past us. And I told my wife, I said, what on earth is that? because it was unlike anything I'd ever seen before, right? It kind of looked like a small Corvette, but
A little rounder.
a
The
little
taillights are a
rounder in the
little nicer.
taillights. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, so that kind of piqued my interest. And then when I got back to Honeywell, I worked at Honeywell from 1987 until 2022
Is that the only job you ever had?
down here. Yes.
Probably switching different positions within the company.
No, actually, I worked in the same department, just
kidding.
different roles.
Kind of rare.
It is very rare.
Yeah.
Yeah. 34 years I worked at Honeywell. Yeah. So, but anyway, in late 93, a gentleman by the name of Dolph Strom, Dolph had, Dolph was kind of the cool guy because he autocrossed all of his cars and he always had the latest and greatest cool car. And so he comes rolling into the parking lot at Honeywell, which was Garrett Air Research at the time. He comes rolling into the parking lot one day with this yellow FD.
Mm.
And I had seen the car before in other colors, but never that color. And I was like, oh my God, what is that? What color is that? And then I learned that it was a limited edition color only made in 93, and only 350 were made for the U.S. market.
Wow.
And so the rarity of the color combined with the fact that it was a yellow that had a lot of metallic. It's got a pearl undercoat with a yellow coat over the top of it. So the uniqueness of the color, the fact that it was only offered in the highest trim, which was called an R1. R1 was the kind of lightweight, better braking, better strut bars.
Sure.
Same power plant, but
Right.
it was kind of the stiffer.
It's like, in a way, it's kind of like the NSX-R versus the regular NSX. People think the NSX-R is some amped up version. I go, no, it's the same.
Yeah.
Just tweaked a little bit.
Right. Yeah. So, that was in 93. And so I lusted after that car for 6 or 7 years. I had kids that were teenagers at the time. And I drove a 1987 Honda Civic wagon for 10 years. Hondas were always my go-to vehicle for daily drivers because they were bulletproof, right? So, but anyway, in the late 1990s, early 2000s, my wife said, it's time for you to have your fun car. And so.
What a wife.
She was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so at the time, the choice was between a 2000 Civic Type R in yellow or a 93 Mazda RX-7 in yellow. And my criteria was to find one under 40,000 miles. That was in nice condition, right? Mm-hmm. And at that time...
Wasn't blown?
That wasn't blown up. Right?
Yeah.
And at that time, the ones stateside were going for, probably with that type of mileage, they were going for between $22,000 and $25,000. You couldn't find anything under 20. So I happened upon this guy selling the car that eventually became mine. He was selling it on eBay in 2000, and he had no bids. Like I said, it was located in Honolulu, Hawaii, so it was geographically challenged.
Yep.
And so someone told me, they said, eBay, if no one's made a bid on eBay, you can contact the owner and they can shut down the auction and he doesn't have to pay a listing fee. And so I found out a way to get a hold of this guy and contacted him, and I said, why isn't the car selling? He said, well, nobody on the island has money, right? It was at a time economically where it was pretty tough. And
you have a limited customer or potential buyer base too,
Exactly.
because geographically challenged.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, he threw me a price that was significantly below what they were going for in the U.S., stateside at the time, I should say. and sent me detailed pictures. He had references at his local bank. The bank VP was good friends with his mom. And so I called the bank, and the VP vouched for him, and he was a firefighter in Mililani, Hawaii. And yeah, super nice guy, easy to deal with, sent me all the pictures I wanted, all the information I wanted. So I bought the car from him, sight unseen, and 30 days later, it showed up across.
Not too bad.
Yeah, across the street. Yeah, so it went from Mililani, Hawaii, into a shipping container to Long Beach, and then from Long Beach on to a truck and over to Tempe. So
even though it was in a shipping container, did it escape any of the nasty air and dirt that I guess cars collect, or do they only collect those when they're out, or don't you remember?
Yeah, I remember.
I've heard horror stories. I just
I
don't
mean,
know.
I remember the pump, like the rear pumpkin, any exposed aluminum had a little bit of corrosion from the salt air in Hawaii, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Not like you get some of the right-hand drive Japanese cars in, and some of them are really terribly corroded, right? So it just depends where they were parked, how well they were cared for. If they were outside a lot in Japan, you're going to get a lot of corrosion when that vehicle shows up, even if it is low mileage, right? So, anyway, that's how I kind of got started with the car. And so I had the car for a couple months, and I was in love with the vehicle. And I wanted to get together with other like-minded enthusiasts in town.
Of course, that's what you do.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Who else has one? Let's hang out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And at the time, there were no clubs in town for Mazda rotary engine vehicles. And so I decided to go, this wasn't old school back in the day. This was the way you did it. I ran an ad in the Arizona Republic Sunday paper saying, I'm interested in starting a car club for rotary enthusiasts, or rotary vehicle. And if you're interested, come next Saturday up to the Five and Diner at the Scottsdale Pavilions. And so that following Saturday, we got probably about 15 or 16 people to show up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was early social media right there.
It really was. Yeah. And believe it or not, so I had my car, Dolph came with his yellow car, and another guy came with his yellow Canadian market car.
So three yellows.
3 yellows at the first meeting. Right. Yeah. So that started my passion, and then that kind of started what came to be known as RCCAZ, Rotary Car Club of Arizona. And that following summer, we had a couple of drives in the fall, a couple of get-togethers at the pavilions, and then someone mentioned this 7-stock event. And so that was that was in 2002 that we went to the first 7-stock event. And yeah.
Is everybody still going, or are you the last from that trio? Because people churn, right? Car clubs churn, events churn.
Yeah.
People get married. They unfortunately pass away, sell their cars.
Yeah. There's one guy that still comes with me periodically. He hasn't been in the last couple of years, but
Aaron goes, doesn't he?
Yeah. For me, the other interesting thing about the car hobby, and I'm sure you've experienced this, even though I'm much older than you, is, about every 10 years, you get a new generation that discovers what you love, right? And so they have all of the questions you had when you first started out, right? About the car and what to look out for, and are they reliable, and X, Y, Z, right?
Well, you got to hold it. Yeah, you got to hold the banner up, because we've seen people that have been around a long time, and they kind of forget where they came from. So the person that says, "Hey, where do I get this?" Like, dude, just search online. But you're a very patient person, so you kind of counterbalance, because there's got to be like jerks that just kind of look back at the noobs, I guess.
There are. right?
And then we all have them
Yeah.
in every car
Yeah.
group.
Yeah. But again, I'm a people person, right? And so
Yeah.
if you're a nurturing type person who likes to take people under their wing and lead them through, I think the thing that really bugs me is when you try to help people and they just go off and do what they want to do anyway. And then they
At least you tried. It's
and then
very
they,
frustrating.
and then they blow the car up and say it's a piece of junk, right? And you just
Yeah.
go, well, I told you so, right? If
Right.
you'd listened to me.
Yeah.
But, you know, you can lead a horse to water, I guess, right? But I try to be a good brand ambassador because, you know, rotary engines aren't for everybody. You can certainly make a lot more power with a lot less pain by just slapping a V8 engine in a rotary-powered vehicle. But for me, it's kind of blasphemy because, you know, Mazda went through a great deal of pain to make the rotary engine work and to make it viable and marketable. And so to me, I think that needs to be rewarded and it needs to be respected. That's one thing I've really learned and about the Japanese culture and learned to admire about rotary engines and Mazda in particular is just that the passion, the reverence, just the respect for their history and what they went through to develop that platform, and I try to honor it with everything I do. So,
What was your thoughts of the RX-8 when it debuted? When it was hyped and then it debuted?
well, I mean, when it first came out, I thought it was really cool because it was an X-Men.
It's
right?
a cool looking car.
It's a
But
cool,
I think they were supposed to deliver it with all this power.
right?
And something happened. I don't remember what it was. This was late 90s, right? Early 2000s.
It was 2004.
Yeah.
It was 2004, and they Mazda hyped it to be 220 normally aspirated horsepower, like 210 or 220 or in that range. And when it came out, people were putting it on the dyno and only making like 170,
A lot of
150,
order
155,
cancellations, I think.
160. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so people were upset about that. But the other thing that was interesting about the RX-8 is the way it was geared and the way it was made. It was a very rigid car, and it was only a couple hundred pounds heavier than the third-gen RX-7. You know, it was a larger car. It had 4 doors, and so everybody automatically assumed
Sort of, right?
it was heavy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It has those little rear suicide doors, right? So everybody assumed it was a heavy car, but it wasn't a heavy car. It was more of a momentum machine. It was more like the first-gen RX-7. It had great braking, great balance. It was a great late braking car, so you could take it out on the track, and where others in heavier cars had to slam on the brakes, you know, at the braking point, you could go a little deeper into the cones before you had to hit the brakes. Aftermarket came out with a few turbo kits. Some were successful, some weren't so much. Pettit Racing in Florida had a supercharger kit that was popular, and that was, I think Camworth sold quite a few of those kits. But yeah, it's just they had a lot of recalls on early ones, 2007, 2008, for engine, for carbon seal issues, coil issues, that they fixed in the second generation RX-8, which was the 2008 model and up. And so, but again, it just goes to show if you push a product and market it too early before it's ready, I think that's my only criticism of Mazda is that over the years they haven't done as good a job as they could in developing the product to maturity before fielding it, and then also training their technicians. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that learned pretty early on to learn how to work on your own car, because What used to happen with the FD and with the RX-8 is if they couldn't figure out the problem, they'd just put in a new engine, right? Because it took longer to diagnose it from a dollar perspective than it did to just put a new factory rebuilt motor in it. So
it sounds like really the RX-8 was a little underappreciated, even though it did have its issues.
right.
What went wrong with the FD? Because the 93s, I remember, because I've always wanted one of those cars. I still kind of do. I think they're a beautiful car. Everyone was blowing their motor, by like 50 or 60,000. I became pretty good friends with a gentleman named Ari Allen. RX7.com Ari.
I know Ari.
Yeah, he was right down the street. His shop was right down the street from my house. And when
Yeah.
I worked at Taco Bueno, he would come in there every day and we became friends. But I was always a big fan of him and the car. And sometimes you're a fan of the car because of the people you know as well. Yeah. But what was the major flaw in those 93 or 94 cars?
Again, it was, a lot of it had to do with a mechanic base, right? The dealer network that wasn't quite prepared to handle repairs on the car. But I think the other thing is the way that the third gen was designed. It was designed with a cast iron manifold bolted to the side of the engine, and then a cast iron twin turbos as well. And that setup generated a boatload of heat that was pumped into the engine, and it was fed by an extremely small intercooler. In my opinion, it was inadequately cooled and too much heat generation, which aged the seals inside the engine rather rapidly.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at a majority of the 93 to 95 RX-7s, which was the third generation production in the U.S., a majority of the 93 to 95s failed between 60 and 80,000 miles.
Right.
Right. Because the seals, the O-rings inside them just got cooked. Right.
The book value on those things. I've never seen a car depreciate so quickly. Yeah. But it's wild. I think they've made a turnaround in the public perception, and now everybody wants one. And I haven't looked for one in a long time, but I would assume if I looked for one, I wouldn't get one for a very good deal anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
the ship has sailed.
From a market perspective, I think, you can still probably get right-hand drive ones that are in fairly decent condition.
Is it weird I'm not interested in any right-hand drive sports cars?
Yeah.
I'm really not,
Yeah.
I mean, I have the Z in the garage, but
yeah.
And I try to be, when people are like, hey, it's a right-hand drive NSX, I'm like, cool. It's a gray market car. There's some really cool ones out there, but if I ever get back into an NSX, it's got to be U.S. spec for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless it's obviously I have FU money and I bought a Type R one day.
Yeah.
They can make exceptions.
Yeah, I mean, for a while, this is probably 3 years ago, was probably when they were at their peak, and they came down a little bit, and now they're starting to work their way up again slowly. But I think you can find a pretty nice FD for somewhere in the $40,000 to $50,000 range.
When I say too bad.
When I say nice, what I mean is, it's probably has, under 60,000 miles. It's been well sorted. It's been well maintained. It doesn't really have a lot of issues. Yeah. Mechanical issues of the car, those types of cars you're looking at, 24 to 30,000, and you're going to be doing quite a bit of work. I always tell people to buy, especially if you're buying something you're not familiar with, to buy the nicest example you possibly can, because as with a lot of these older Japanese cars now, it's getting harder and harder to find parts, and it's next to impossible. In Phoenix, there's a handful of guys that I would trust to even touch my car and work on it. And so when you've got as many rotary engine cars and as many enthusiasts as you have in the Phoenix area, all eventually needing some type of service on their vehicle, that's not a lot of people to help you out, right? So,
Yeah.
but that's, you see a lot of guys doing engine swaps, right?
A lot of LSs.
Yeah, and I
You
saw
kind of referenced that earlier, and it's like I never really know how I feel about motor swaps in cars because I think it's cool, but it's one of those weird things where it's like, yeah, that's cool, but I don't think I would do it, not to a passion car.
right.
But I do know, like, if I ever get an old Alpha that I want and they want to make it faster and cooler for the build, I'm probably going to have to swap it out with something.
Right.
So I don't know. It's just one of those weird things. I just hope I never have to pick a side of that.
Yeah.
Like I see people with swap motor NSXs and I just kind of look at them a little differently.
Yeah.
But I see other cars that are swapped. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we always go to shows and we see that one guy, right? We would see that one guy who didn't know how to stop modifying, right?
When's the car no longer itself, really,
Right.
at the end of the day?
Right.
And if the soul of the car is the motor, the engineering and everything that people rave about, and that's no longer in there,
Right.
no, I can see if you're a race car driver, if you're time trial and you pull the motor, you need more power, and because the motor is very expensive, like you're crazy if you're racing around on a first gen NSX
Right.
or on the track, you need to pull that and put something else in there
Right.
for motor preservation. But to be cool on the street, be cool on social media, it's your car. Like you said at the very beginning of this conversation, you can do what you want with it. But for me personally, I don't think I'll ever be doing that. What are you excited about for Mazda? There's always been like rumors and talks about a next generation, RX. And I think we've been talking about that for probably a decade. Are we close?
Yeah, so last month they rolled out a new concept that's supposed to be rotary powered. It's supposed to have a twin rotor. I don't want to say electrical generator because that would be disingenuous to Mazda, but it has a twin rotor motor and electric combined.
Some sort of a hybrid-ish.
Some kind of a hybrid-ish, they're quoting 500 horsepower. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because ever since the RX-8 left the shores here in the U.S., Mazda's been talking about what's next, right? And I get the fact that they have to make the numbers because, car company doesn't stay on its feet by making things that you have to warranty engines on every 2 or 3 years, right? So I think the RX-8 really kind of made them super cautious about their next design, and I think they want to have something that's fairly robust. But I know it's still part of their DNA. Mazda has said that the rotary engine's part of who we are, and that there'll always be something in the design pipeline, whether it makes sense from a business perspective or not.
Yeah, the money has to work out, right?
Yeah, the money has to work out.
It's been a long time since we've had the RX-8.
Yeah.
So you have 7 stock coming up. Mm-hmm. You're going to be leaving for that.
Yep.
You've alluded that's a huge deal. 20X years in a row, 23 years in a row.
Yeah, 23 years in a row, and we've got, like I said, over.
Why do you keep going back?
Wow.
It's the relationships.
It is,
it's
absolutely.
It's a family, right?
It really is, yeah.
I mean, you worked at and thank you again, at our NS Expo out here as a volunteer.
That was a blast.
It's the family.
That was a blast. I mean, those are the types of events that I really, really like to show up at and help with, right? Because you really get that feeling that, because it's not just 2.5 hours of hanging out with friends and then everybody goes their separate ways, right? It's 4 or 5 days of community and sharing and, breaking bread at night and just, you get to spend time and get to really get to know people very, very well. And so for me, that's what it's all about is the relationships for sure. Yeah.
It's weird to me to have friends or people in my life that don't have something like that.
Yeah.
And I think I don't feel bad for them as much, but it's when it comes to understanding how those moments with those people move up, people like us.
Yeah.
I think it's harder for them to understand.
Yeah.
And I just really wish that, whether that's friends or family or, some sort of shared interest, I think everybody deserves to have something like that in their life, right?
Yeah. Exactly. I was thinking about that question before coming over here today, and I thought, we've always, there's two types of people you meet at car shows, right? There are people who are into friends and community, and then you have people who are into awards, right?
Yeah.
And the people who are into awards, they aren't happy coming away from the event unless they take first place, right? And if they don't take first place, they get all upset and ticked off because their car wasn't chosen, right? But for me, that's like missing the whole meaning of why you're there, right? The whole reason why you're there is to celebrate everybody's passion and everybody's ideas and what inspires everybody else. And if you end up coming away from that car show or that event with a new idea or a new friend, then it's been a great day, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to jokingly say you sound like somebody who's won first place just one too many times. But you're right, though. And it's like, if you don't win, it's okay. Why didn't you win? And then use that next time. But don't, because you're right. Some people show up and they put their chair down, and that's just, you want to be there for the judges. And most of these shows that we've ever competed in, we've been at some of the same shows.
Mm-hmm.
It's community-based. The judges are volunteers. Most of them, unless you're at a legit Concours event, they're not professional judges. And so, it's whatever they decide. And if they don't know that you have these special brakes versus this other guy's brakes, they don't know the difference.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me? These brakes are $30,000. They got little AutoZone brakes over there. They won. They got more points than me. Are you kidding? Like they don't know.
Yeah.
So, go to those competitions if you need to. Go to SEMA Battle of the Builders and win a competition, but anything local, chances are it's up to the judge, and the rest of it, just have a good time.
Yeah, exactly. I do, but I do enjoy shows though where the judges show up and ask you questions.
Oh, sure.
And give you an opportunity to tell your story, right?
That's how I went from 5th place to 2nd place for Best Modified at Future Collected Car Show with Fielding Shredder over there, my official judge,
Yeah.
And you won first place at one of those shows.
Yeah. Was that the year?
I don't know who won. I think the Subaru won that year, or maybe it was you. Was it 2020?
Yeah.
2020.
2020.
I'll have to look over there. I can't tell what years on that.
2020 was the year that I won.
Was that the last?
Yeah.
So the last time it was at.
That was the last.
Where Highline Auto is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's the last time.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sitting in front of my competition. I got some poison here to give you.
Hey, exactly. I'll share the trophy with you for a while, buddy. I love what you do for the community. You do a lot of great things, through your initiatives out there too. And, your shirt says driven by passion today. That's like my theme, driven by passion, right? I started an event at Honeywell called Bring Your Ride to Work Day. I thought, we can have events where people can bring their kids to work. Why not bring your car to work? And so like 2004, I started this. I contacted our CEO at the time, which at the time, the CEO of aerospace was like an unapproachable person. But he had this mechanism called upwards. And you'd put together like a detailed email of something you thought that we could do to improve the company, and you'd send it to him. And he'd always respond to every one of your ideas. So one year I sent him an idea, and I said, we've got a lot of people in the company who spend their weekends working on cars, and they're super passionate about their cars or their off-road vehicles or their classic motorcycles. I said, why don't we have a Bring Your Ride to Work Day where people can bring their cars. We'll put them in a special area in the parking lot. We'll have kettle corn. At that time, there were some guys that had a Honeywell band. I said, we'll have the Honeywell band out playing.
That's funny.
And he loved it. He said, absolutely. I'll fund it 100%. Just tell me what you need. And so that started the first of what ended up being 7 Honeywell Bring Your Ride to Work days. And the whole theme or the mission of the event was share your passion, right? Because passion is what drives us at home and passion is what drives us at work. So,
well said.
Yeah. So yeah, and I used to get VPs would come to me after every quarter and would say, "When are we having our next car show?" Because that's the only question I get from people over and over and over again is, "When are we going to do the next car show?" So it resonated really well with people. It tied us together as a company, and it gave people a chance to, to kind of show us something that we didn't know about them, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Tim Eull.
Aisle. Walking down the aisle, baby.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
You just find that. It's like Eric of Last Era. He goes, "You never say my last name right." I'm like, "Oh, it's Pasha." Like Sasha? Yeah. Pasha like Sasha instead of Pasia. I mean, he never corrected me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aisle. Tim Eull.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it.
Well, another month, another closing. If you like what you heard today or like what you watched today, if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And make sure you go and tell a friend all about it. I want to thank our sponsors, Right Honda and Right Toyota, SparkForge AI from Marcus Foundry, one login, one platform, all under your control, AutoCannon officially licensed Honda and Acura gear. Can't forget Patreon business supporter, Kuya Automotive out of Winter Garden, Florida, Automotive Specialty Tool out of Owings Mills, Maryland, The Lucky Brakes out of Caledonia, Michigan, Beak House Small Home Design out of Ashbury, Virginia and Traverse City, Michigan, and Shaping Success Treasure Valley out of Boise, Idaho. If you're in a position to help the podcast upgrade, you can join the Patreon at patreon.com/hardparkingpodcast, or you can become a member on YouTube. There's a buy me a coffee option there. If you want to support the show, if you get value, if this is one of your favorite shows to watch, why not support it? Special thanks to Mark Stoneman, Catherine Cox, Eddie Ramos, Richard Grainsbauer Jones, Bo Jung, Alice Domina, Drew Bunkley, and Dre Mullins. Questions, comments, or concerns, leave a comment below or email the show info@hardparking. Follow the show on Instagram @hardparkingpod. And make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. And I will see you guys next week.
Now it's stripping time.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Shut up!